Everybody. So it's come to my attention today that apparently Linus Media Group, also known as Linus Tech Tips, has been receiving quite a bit of bad publicity on Reddit over the past 21 days or so. So I was working in the computer room and I had YouTube up on my TV in there, and of course I came across Camelot 331, and I think his name's Cody. He uploads videos where he exposes GameStop, Walmart, Lowe's, Best Buy, and other companies for, I'd say, mistreating their employees or not treating them so well. But to my surprise, I saw a video about Linus Media Group on there, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, what's going on here?" And I go to watch it, and he talks about a Reddit post about Linus Tech Tips. And I'm just going to go and actually pull it up here. That way you can see it for yourself, and I'll go and read it and go through it myself. So before I do that, in case you don't know, Linus Tech Tips is probably the biggest computer tech YouTube channel in existence. I wouldn't so much call him a YouTube channel anymore. I would call him a reality TV company that just so happens to have a YouTube channel, because the company has, I'd say, outgrown the quote-unquote YouTube channel status for quite some time now. I mean, he has, 80 employees or something like that. Has a big office space in Vancouver, British Columbia. Anyways, here is the Reddit post. Remember this tweet, the one where Linus showed off all the Teslas that his employees could afford? Yeah, all 3 employees out of around 60 or 70 at the time. 2 of them were owned by managers, and the other someone who owned it before working there. What about this WAN show merch message where Linus is asked about LMG staff unionization? It says that if LMG did, he and Vaughn would consider it a personal failure, and calls out brazen anti-organizing policies in the States. And then it says, "I don't really feel like employees need additional protections, to be perfectly honest with you." It goes on to talk about his at-will employment rules in the States, where falsely stating that Canada is not at will. These are comparable to Linus' adage, "Do as I say, not as I do," which he applies to what seems to be every area of the business. He makes a big deal out of making LMG a great place to work, but he either lacks a necessary work experience or is out of touch due to his prior employment history, as LMG is a poor place to work. Another significant factor is expected workload and pay structure. Writers earn between $55,000 and $60,000 a year and are instructed to release a video every week. They have to write, build, prepare, shoot, and get the videos to the editors for review each week with essentially no backup. It appears to be, there is no incentive for them to change this sense. In Linus' own words, "We can't not do 7 a week anymore. Therefore, instead of employing more writers to pick up the slack and give them a 2-week schedule or better, they constantly rush around and leave a huge mess for logistics and others to clear up." Think of all the new hire names in the end credits of videos you've seen before. Yeah, sounds like high turnover. And, of course, you look at Linus Tech Tips videos, they're not like your average YouTube video, like, for example, like my videos, where there's some editing but not a whole lot, not down to earth. His videos look like they would be more fit on a reality TV show. Chock full of background music, lots of animations, lots of, "This video is sponsored by," which you'll never hear on Cucumber Channel. Just stuff like that. And when there's so much work involved with writing out a video, scripting it out, shooting the video, and get the videos to editors for review each week, I mean, that's a lot of work. I mean, that's a whole lot of work. I mean, they're shooting the video, which in many cases, the actual raw footage is about a time and a half, the final footage, and then there's the editing, which takes up a whole bunch more time. I mean, a YouTube video, when you do some editing, it takes up a good bit of time. And when you do a YouTube video that involves the amount of editing and scripting and planning that goes into an LTT video, I can't even imagine. I mean, that's a whole lot. So anyways, offered a chance to have the opportunity to reside in a city where the annual living salary is $50,000, slightly over the poverty line, for physically exhausting intellectually taxing job. Linus talks about making sure that every employee can buy a house in Vancouver, but that's bullcrap. Empty promises. Nevertheless, if you're fortunate enough to survive your first year, they might raise your pay to roughly $65,000 plus a bonus structure, which is fascinating because I've heard is actually a tactic to sort out those who don't want to work there. It affects everyone, not just writers. Pay low to see who leaves, then raise the pay after determining whether or not they can handle a demanding workplace. Also, there is usually a lot of tension because the necessary effort is never well supported, because the goal is to simply release something and sort it out later than to do it effectively, which is why a bunch of the launch videos lately have had errors in them, because the goal is not to be done well, it's just to release something at all and figure it out later. Now here's the thing. So pay low for the first year or whatever, and then raise your pay after the first year if you stay there. Now, a lot of companies, don't get me wrong, a lot of companies out there have some sort of probation period when you work for them. Sometimes it's 90 days, other times it's 6 months, maybe it could be a year, depending on where you're at. And in some companies, the probation period, you may have reduced pay or you may have reduced benefits because the company is really just riding out to see if you are worth, if you're worth it to them. Because, I mean, that's so. Getting lower pay in the first year, companies don't always start you out at a super high wage. I mean, now some companies do have like a fixed pay structure where everybody gets paid the same depending on your job title, whereas other jobs or companies, it's performance based. But I can tell you, I can imagine having to deal with getting a lot thrown on your plate, being overworked. That's a toxic work environment, I think. Oh, and remote work, forget it. LMG hates work from home, and that's because Linus hates work from home. It was initially introduced for COVID, but has since been reduced to a maximum of 2 days per week. They have repeatedly stated that this is a hard cap, and there are rumors that they intend to eliminate it entirely by the end of the year. For those who can work entirely remotely, such as editors, buyers, designers, and LTTstore.com support employees, it makes no sense. However, Linus doesn't give a crap because he hasn't worked a real job in more than a decade. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I have seen some videos from Linus, kind of behind the scenes, about how things work at LMG. His employees, his editors, they're busy editing videos, and I can say this: for example, the way my videos are edited, they all have certain files, they all have certain video clips and stuff that need to be accessed. And the thing is, when you work from home, it's not as easy to effectively do that. So when you have a team of employees working in the office, they have their computers in the office. The files for the videos are probably, I'm going to say, hosted on a central server. And when you're doing video editing, you need quick access to that media. So, I mean, having it set up as a work from home is, I don't know about that for that kind of job. Because, I mean, there are technologies out there, like, for example, Citrix Workspace, where you basically can log into a virtual computer, but it's still not as good as having a physical computer at your fingertips doing the raw processing power and all that good stuff for editing video. So I can see why Linus would prefer to have his employees in the office, for at least those who are handling the editing stuff. Keeping track of hours is also bad. Everyone is paid hourly, including those who are compensated as salaried, because timekeeping is required even for managers. However, there's no clock in/clock out system involved. Instead, you simply enter your job hours on a Google spreadsheet. Due to management's strong disapproval of paying overtime, if you work an additional 15 minutes at the end of the day to complete a video or clean up your workspace, it's too bad. So sad. You won't get paid for that. LMG gets all kinds of free time worked without pay because you aren't putting in the time you're in, and time you're out for those extra 10 minutes here. 5 there, 30 there, like a normal workplace. Now, here's the thing about that. Now, of course, LMG is based in Canada, in British Columbia. I don't know exactly what the labor laws are up there, but in the United States, as a full-time employee, you could be either a exempt employee or a non-exempt employee. When you're an exempt employee, you're basically salaried, and you can be, of course, you are not eligible for overtime. You're expected to work 40 hours a week or however many hours extra are necessary to complete the work for that week. May not seem fair, but that's just how it is. Now, if you're non-exempt, yes, you can be eligible for overtime. However, there are cases to where the company may not compensate you monetarily at first. It may be compensatory time to where you're basically paid. It's like vacation leave. You can take it at a later time, at a time and a half, or for the same amount of time in that given week. Let's say if you work extra hours Monday through Wednesday or Monday through Thursday, you work those extra hours. You could take those extra hours off, or if you're expected to be there that Friday to get tasks done, then you could get those hours as comp time at time and a half, and you could take them at a later time. So it's really different from company to company how that kind of thing works. So who knows? I mean, the post mentions about salaried employees. Now, by mentioning salaried, I'm going to assume that means exempt. So, and there are a lot of companies out there that do not actually handle your time recording as clock in time, clock out time. I mean, my first job years ago, you clocked in, and of course the system recorded your clock in time, and then when you clocked out, it recorded your clock out time, and that's how your hours were calculated. Whereas other jobs, like as mentioned here, they use a Google Sheet to track hours. Well, I mean, there's many companies that actually do it that way. So can't really down LMG for using this way, because it's actually kind of common. But here's the thing that actually kind of burns me up. Now, before I mention this, in the United States, it is illegal for an employer to discipline you for discussing your wage with other employees, or I think also publicly. So in the United States, I mean, of course, that's kind of how it is. An employer cannot reprimand you or discipline you for discussing your wage with another employee. And that's also the case for, I think, much of Canada, but not British Columbia, where LMG is located. Yeah, I did look this up to try to get some clarification on that, and that appears to be the case. So people have been actively disciplined for talking about wages before this, so don't let him weasel out of this and say it means you can't share other people's wages, but you're fine to talk about your own, because that is false. And if others choose to speak up, then they can corroborate it. I know of at least one person who still currently works there that has had this happen to them. And there is actually a screenshot of the Linus Tech Tips manual, employee handbook, where that is referenced. So here's how it reads. It's number 34, wages. Wages are determined on a case-by-case basis and will be determined at the sole discretion of management. All wages, wage structures, including any kind of bonus or commission or other, and wage adjustment information is considered highly confidential. It is not to be shared, discussed, or left in a place that can be seen by coworkers or third parties outside LMG. So yeah, that's exactly how it reads. I think that's kind of ridiculous. It's like, I mean, the thing is, like I mentioned, here in the U.S., such thing would be illegal. I don't think. I think it's unethical at the least. But yeah. And to be honest, when I've seen some of the videos from LMG, where some of the employees who are normally off camera are featured, it's almost as if they have a smile painted on their face. It's like, I have to look like I'm happy here, but I'm not really happy here. So I don't really know, to be honest. That's just my take. And what I'll do is I'll link some videos up here in the up here actually from a couple of different YouTubers discussing this matter. So anyways, I mean, considering the net worth of Linus and his company, I think all of his employees should be very, very well treated, considering the amount of work they put in to make LTT what it is. So anyways, that wraps it up for this video. Have you enjoyed it? Thanks for watching. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Well, everybody, that wraps it up for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to Timekeeping channel, and be sure to tick the bell. That way you get notified of new video posts. Also, I recommend following Timekeeping Company on Facebook. A link is in the video description. In addition to computer tech videos, I have a second channel, CubeCompMTDX. Links are available at the end of this video. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching and your support.